Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Kyma community meetup. I'm Valentin. I'm the new community manager, joining only a month ago, or even less than a month. So it's my first time I'm running this meetup. So be gentle with me. We try a new format. We already had a little bit of debates regarding if this is the right one or not. We try to find ourselves also while we move forward. So we rename it in Kyma community meetup. Before this, like a couple of months ago when we had the last meetup, was more SIG community. So we try to make it a little bit more let's say like a meetup, one or two talks. Anyone can propose a topic. Usually there will be one or two demos depending how we choose. We can pick something from the previous release or something we want to share. So it's not really, it can be also outside a little bit of the agenda. So anyone can propose a topic, and then there will be Q&A, and that's going to be the format. We plan to make it every 2 weeks, so make it a bit more lightweight and make it more engaging with the community, and allowing also other people from different which could be also not part of the project to present something if it's closely related to the Kyma project. That being said, feedback is welcome. There are going to be some couple of polls that I would like to ask. First topic is basically the first proposal was to ask if this meeting can be like a webinar style, where people can be more relaxed and just watch it, or would be a very interactive where everybody can speak. So I think that a lot of people already expressed them, but I will ask you at the end of the meetup how it goes. Sorry, long introduction. We have an agenda today. I explain a little bit why we reorganize. We try to be a bit more open and have different type of topics and make it more of a meetup. But we have a couple of important topics today. First of all, Piotr, PB, we call him, will pick up a little bit and touch some points regarding where do we want to go with Kyma. And somehow related to that, we will touch then a little bit of some work we've done regarding a new Kyma elevator pitch, and maybe some work we have done with Kyma target personas. So we try to identify maybe new type of persona that we want to address. That should be some short ones. Then we have a short presentation from Michal regarding the new functions that we introduced very recently. Maybe a little bit of a demo, and I think we can take maybe Q&A immediately after the presentation, and then a presentation of Sayan regarding tracing and Kyma eventing. Also something that we introduced recently, and a short then a Q&A session after that. As we do have the webinar format, technically you could address questions all the time, and then we can pick it up and pick it up at the end of the presentations. So that's being said, PB.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. You should see my list of topics with where we go with Kyma header. Do you see that?
Yeah, we see.
Yeah, good. So 4 main topics for today. I will try to make it short. You can see that the preview here to understand better what I'm saying. So I will start with the first topic, what we already started. It's installation area improvements. We already started in a previous release with better retries, more resilient Kyma operator. We know from feedback from different customers, users, that it's one of the biggest pain points currently in Kyma, and we want to address that, and it is our focus for this release also. So in this release, we will migrate to Helm-free to remove tiller component and get rid of a couple of problems. But maybe this is not the most important. The most important thing is that we also do some cleanup in the Helm charts, so the installation should be much smooth and quick process. It started. It will not be finished in this release, but yeah, we will see the bigger improvements also in the next releases. And also, we started some preparation to make installation quicker with parallel installation of some components. Right now, we have a lot of waiting in the installation process. The first thing we will do is to install all custom resources definition first. Then we can have also parallel installation, and these dependencies between components will be much more easier to maintain. And last but not least, in data area, we created a new working group installation, which utilize existing installation Slack channel in our open Slack. And we encourage everyone to participate in this working group work. Yeah, the first meeting happened yesterday, and we meet every week, Tuesday afternoon. So please join us and help us to improve that area. So that was the first point. The second is more lightweight Kyma. So we also see that we collected a lot of nice open source CNCF landscape projects in Kyma. But we see that for some cases it's also too much, and we have now two directions. Yeah, so we have some Kyma projects in production, and for production installation, some of the components we install together with Kyma are usually replaced by external services. So, for example, logging or a message bus, we use something that is provided by the hyperscaler with proper SLAs, and customers do not want to maintain that solution on their own inside the cluster. And so for production use cases, we move a little bit responsibility for some components to external services. And for development and local installation, these components we have already in Kyma seems to be too heavy. And we also think about that case when we offer batteries included scenario, so everything is already prepared, that it should be a little bit more lightweight. So we go into directions. For production scenarios, we simplify using external solutions. And for that, we will focus in several areas to move production utilization of services to the external services. And for local development, or for development clusters, or for local development, we provide more lightweight alternatives. So the areas we right now focus on are event bus, serverless, and application connectivity. In these areas, we will have some bigger refactorings, and you will see that some of them even today. Yeah, so that's the direction. And the last point from this lightweight Kyma is application connectivity. And here we will have bigger refactoring, and we already started that. With that movement with externalization of application connectivity. We started 2 years ago with application connector components inside the Kyma runtime, but it's not the solution that we will keep forever, because during that time we got a lot of feedback, and we've learned new requirements that people want to connect these applications once and have a possibility to connect this application to different runtimes. And Kyma is not the only runtime. They run the extensions for the applications. And it would be nice if we have the possibility to pair once and connect to many Kyma runtimes, and treat this Kyma runtime, the cluster, more as kettle, not pet. Yeah, so we want to manage more Kyma runtimes and group these different applications and different runtimes in some scenarios. Some time ago, we started in the Kyma incubator project, Compass project. So this is something that you already have heard probably. It's evolving, and we are ready right now. So the Compass project is available also in the commercial offering and as management plane solution, and we keep it open source, but we want to get Kyma itself lighter. So we've moved the functionality of application broker and application operator from Kyma runtime to this external project, and we will have something like system broker that is outside of the Kyma application, Kyma runtime, and this is the direction we are going to. So what you can expect in the near future, the application operator, application broker will be removed from the runtime and replaced by more lightweight system connectivity in the service catalog. That's the direction. And the last point I wanted to say is that we want to be more transparent with our roadmap, and all the points I touched here should be also visible directly in GitHub. Probably some of you have spotted different strange milestones in our repository. So we had hundreds of milestones like sprint, XX, backlog, whatever. And we got rid of that milestones. And right now, Kyma repository is more clean. If you see the milestones in the projects in the Kyma repository, there are right now milestones created for the upcoming releases 1.14 up to 1.17, and we have also future milestone that shows the issues that we do not plan for the next 3 months, but we still see it as important, and we plan that for the next further future. But we want to keep this transparency. So if you see that the issue you are waiting for is not scheduled in the near future, you can also upvote it and try to contact, to comment in the issue and try to influence the order we deliver. And of course, contributions are also welcome. So that's more or less the direction we are going. And with the milestones, you should see that direction also directly in the GitHub. Back to you, Valentin.
Cool. That was very fast. I'm just wondering if anyone has some particular question regarding what PB just mentioned, or general topics. And if not, we kind of. Okay.
I have maybe one comment about that externalization of the application connectivity. That right now what we are focusing on is right now Compass could be installed from the Compass repository from that chart, or could be installed from the Kyma itself, because there is as well the YAM which allows to do that, and chart is copied there. And right now we are separating that. That means Compass repository will be fully available to be installed on the given Kyma runtime. That means we want to a bit separate the runtime, the components that supports Compass components, and we work on that currently. And the next changes we can discuss in the next meetups, right? That we plan to do.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, because in a way it is related with the next topic, as we are splitting these two components, and we concentrate a little bit more Kyma, focusing as a runtime, application runtime. We explored also the idea of maybe trying to rephrase the elevator pitch that we have for Kyma. As we now go on the homepage, we talk a lot about extension, extensibility, and so on. And now we try to focus it more on the application runtime. And we have a couple of issues in the GitHub where a couple of people contributed. And Maja here, she's one of the technical writers. She picked this up, and we started an initiative to kind of rephrase it. Obviously, we do this in open source way, with a pull request, and maybe Maja can pick it up and present a little bit what's the status right now, and mention that contributions are all the time welcome, right?
Okay, yeah, so let me share my screen. Can I? Which one is it? I'm not sure it's this one.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to pick them.
Yeah, in the meantime, okay, so I can't find the desktop option here.
There is no desktop option. Valentin disabled that, so you need to share the application you want to share.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry for that.
I can share it for you if you want, or you find it. Okay.
Can you see the issue? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Browser.
So, like Valentin mentioned, with the slight change in the direction, we came up with the task of creating the elevator pitch that is like a short description of what Kyma is, what it is for, and who it is for. Like a short, like 2-sentence thing to catch the attention, grab the attention of the potential user or adopter. And there was an issue created. Valentin and PB posted their propositions or like drafts, something to use, and Mateusz also commented on that. I posted my draft, like a proposition there, and also the open canvas chart that Valentin suggested to use. And it's there if you have any comments or feedback, but we thought, Valentin thought it would be better to already open a pull request, because it's easier to comment and suggest changes. And so I did. It's linked here in the issue. You can go to that from the issue. Can you see the PR now? Or still the
issue? Yeah, we see the pull request right now.
Okay, yes. Cool. So here's the pull request, and Valentin also found the place for that, because we had a manifesto app which hasn't been updated for like 2 years or so, and he thought we could just repurpose that folder and use it for the after pitch and personas, which Krzysztof is going to talk about in a minute, I believe. And so here's the my proposition, which is a draft and might change a bit after someone has feedback or other technical writers take a look. And yes, so you're welcome to have a look and share your opinions, or like
so maybe we should try to read it, or because I would like to get some feedback immediately. I'm trying also playing a little bit with these polls things, and to see what's the immediate feedback. So
sure, okay. I think everyone can read it like on their own. We're not going to do the loud reading, I guess, right?
Yeah, just make it a bit
maybe bigger.
Bigger.
Yeah.
And Maya, please
Oh,
paste
okay.
the link to the pull request in the chat, okay? I will copy that to the notes.
Sure. Okay.
So Kyma is a cloud native application runtime that gives you the power of Kubernetes, but without the hassle of worrying about security, configuration, and integration of tools. Kyma does it for you, as it is not. It combines various components. Yeah, thank you. Maybe we'll leave everyone to read it, but it will be a little bit weird in the video registration that it will be a silent. So we.
Yeah. Yeah, go on.
Now we're just trying to say that we try to capture some features here regarding battery included, a little bit about the.
By the way, how can I vote? Because I see the poll, but
I don't know exactly. There should be some voting.
just
Yeah, I had a pop-up and there's polling.
The options are disabled.
Yeah, it says hosts and panelists can't vote.
And we were all moved to panelists.
Oh,
so.
no.
Okay.
Relaunch. Okay.
I guess we learned something.
Maybe I think we should
Relaunch?
just add the feedback to the pull request or something like that.
And then we
make
can
votes.
back to the food, yes. Well, I was trying to make this meeting a little bit more interactive, having polls and immediate feedback, but then Wednesday is June 3rd is not the day.
That's a learning opportunity, I think.
Thank you, Maja. So,
yeah, to be honest, it's not a bad idea, right? Because then we'll get feedback from 20 guys in the pull request. Maybe 2 of them will leave the comments. Then I like it, but we need to just a bit work on that because it's the first time, right? But yeah, let's polish that a bit. We need to do some tests, Valentin, together maybe before the meeting, how it works, because we can relaunch it, right? I think.
You cannot vote as a panelist, yeah. The idea was this to be a webinar.
Okay, got it. Okay, now we need to move everyone to attend this.
No, it was started as a webinar, right? So then we move everyone as a panelist. It kind of makes no sense for people to vote, the participants. But
got it. Okay.
Okay.
And
thank
just
you.
regarding the PR, I just wanted to add one thing that the personas are also going to be in that folder, but I'm not sure if they're going to be described in the same pull request because I haven't discussed that with Krzysztof yet. So that's one thing. There might be another PR with that. So
Cool.
that's all.
Then okay, then in that one, please leave the link to the another one because I will paste the current one.
Cool.
And then they will just go to the new one, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't just want to, take Krzysztof's work and put it as my PR. So that's something to discuss with him.
Okay.
Thank you, Maja. On the same note, Krzysztof, maybe you can pick it up regarding the personas, what we try to achieve, and you worked on and created this.
Sure. Hello, everybody. We've heard from PB. He explained the directions where how Kyma should evolve and going into more lightweight runtime. And we have seen the rephrased the proposition for the rephrased punchline, saying what Kyma is and what kind of problems it can solve. And now we can we need to also a bit redefine the personas for Kyma, because we also want to focus and also keep in mind for whose problems are we solving, and what we need to have a common imagination, common understanding about the persona. So regardless if you are contributing and writing documentation or if you are contributing and developing new features, we all have to make sure that we share the same personas in mind. And so Valentin already created a ticket, an issue on GitHub to define the target personas for Kyma and to document them. So they need to be publicly available and visible in the community. Those personas are not yet defined, but I would like to just to say that this is a work in progress right now, and describe you a little bit the process, how we are getting there to define those personas. So we have started with a brainstorming exercise, trying to define personas for Kyma and try to orientate the needs and the pain points along two axes. One is maybe the experience level in CNCF landscape, maybe also the level how much of a decisive accountable person you are in the organization. This is going the downwards or south. Also on the horizontal axis we have the level of how small apps are you developing, some small applications, or are you interested in more enterprise grade cloud systems. So we've done this brainstorming, and now we are in the phase of moving this input into a pull request. And now this is the place where we want to invite you to contribute and to reflect your opinions about the personas, both in this ticket. So please comment this ticket, but also there's already a very draft pull request. It will be, we will continue working on it. We want to prove let's say the format. And this is something that you can expect in the GitHub soon, in the documentation on the community GitHub. So to have real faces, names, and a little bit of description, characteristics, slogans for people that might find Kyma interesting and that will use it to solve their problems.
I see you're using this face does not exist, huh? Or?
Yes.
This person does not exist.
Those are not real persons. No. Yeah.
That's
okay.
For privacy reason, it's that that person technically does not exist, but yes, our persona exists, huh?
Personas, yes, exist, but those are fake faces and names.
Cool.
Krzysztof, please paste the
Sure.
GitHub issue, okay?
Yes, and the pull request link, okay? I will paste it
in the chat.
Right.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you, Krzysztof. I think we are a little bit slightly behind, so let's see. Michal, I don't know if there are any questions right now. I will just, regarding those two topics, it was more presentation. Obviously, we have pull requests. We encourage to contribute there if there are. But if they're not, then we could just go to Michal. He wants to present a little bit the work that his team has been doing in the last considerable amount of time. I don't know how many sprints. The new serverless, right?
Okay, so let me share my screen. Or just application as I see. Okay, guys, do you see the Kyma project IO page?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So with Kyma 1.12, we introduced a new serverless solution, serverless runtime for Kyma. It is no longer based on the kube.
Scale to 0.
Scale to 0. Okay, I think we lost a little bit Michal.
We'll start.
For the...
Okay, you're back, Michal. Could you start from the beginning? You were frozen. You are frozen.
What happened?
You were
okay.
just disconnected.
So
but we just heard first word, really, first sentence. Yeah, then please start again.
Okay, so one more time. With Kyma 1.12, we introduced a new serverless solution that is no longer based on the kubeless. It's rather, we have completely new solution that works on our own serverless controller, where we orchestrate all steps. And here in the new documentation that was also updated, you can find the new architecture. And so you, as the user, you create only one function custom resource, and based on that, everything is orchestrated for you. So we create proper configuration. We also create a job that is responsible for building the image. What is important in previous solution, everything was built in the runtime. So when your function was scaled up and down, every time when the new pod starts, your function was built in the runtime. This time we first built the image, and then we just start. This time is still based on Knative serving. We start the new functions. So we really improve the time to start new function, to have it deployed. And also in the documentation, we have all details regarding that functionality. As you can see, we have also internal Docker registry. The feature will also support external Docker registries. And what is more important, here you can also find nice tutorials, how to create functions, how to expose this, how to bind service, and also how to assign some triggers to it. And this is about the documentation, but let's see how it works. When you go to the and here we go again.
Event has arrived.
Let's wait a moment.
Yeah, we wait
Yeah.
for you. You're back again.
I have again.
No, but that was okay. You can continue right now. It's okay.
Okay, so in the completely new UI, you have we can create a function with, let's say, test as a name, and you can add some label, right? And when you create the function, you will see you have completely a new structure of this. So we are mostly focused on the source code and the dependencies, and here you also can find the environment variables. In the configuration section, you can find that you are able to configure. So for example, 10, so I can just put it. I can configure also resources needed for my function to be able to work. And next thing is add some trigger to your function. And just add a few triggers. Okay. Yep, I have some internet problems. So, okay. And as you can see, you have also sample payload for your triggers, so you don't have to go to the specification. Everything is here. And next thing is when you add some service binding to your function, for example, Redis with preface, right? It is visible here. Also, your environment variables that will be injected to your functions are also still visible. And let's add another one. Right, and go back to the code. As you can see in the code, in the environment variable sections, you also see the list of the variables that will be injected to your functions. So you don't have to go to the configuration tab and to look into for the names. Everything is here, so you can be focused on your development. And you can also add your own variables. Let's call it test name and value, right? And as you can see, it is also visible here. What's more important, we are also validating if you are adding exactly the same test variable. So you see the error here, or also you will see some warning if your environment variable overlaps a variable from service binding, for example, right? And next thing is that when you edit some, for example, add. Right, the save button is here. You don't have to save whole function. You are changing the source code or dependencies, so you need to save here. Everything, every other configuration is added immediately, so you don't have to save your function. And as you can see, it is already running. But what is important? Let's go back to the architecture and the diagram. See, we have 3 steps. We are configuring, we are building, then we are deploying the function. So if your changes, for example, you're adding some environment variable, trigger, or something like that, then we don't build your function again. We just change the deployment. When you change something related to the image that will be created, so for example, the source code or dependencies, then we are building the new image, and when the build is finished with success, then we change your deployment. Otherwise, it's still the old version is available here. I can see, yeah, my internet connection. It logs not only for the execution, the build of the function. So if there will be an error related to that, you will see it here. And one change compared to the previous version, expose your function, you need to go to API rule. And here, you just need to add new API rule with some name, test, and choose your service. My is test, right? And I will expose it with everything, right? And we need to wait a little bit, and it will be available. Yeah, it works here. As you can see, we have hello world, and in the functions, when you go to the function in the logs, as I added console log test, it also is here is visible. Okay, but it was really simple example of how the serverless works. Let's go to the something with a connected service, connected system. So I created small demo to do that, and I connected GitHub, my test organization, Łuki Testują, to Kyma, and I prepared 2 functions. Before I will go to the functions, let's see how it works. My functions are monitoring issues created in the whole organization. And for example, I can assign someone to the issue or pull request. And when I type assign Beshwart, then my bot is assigning it, and is created by function responsible for assigning people. I also created another bot that will send a blob emoji, because recently we are really fan of these emojis. So I have to create some bot for that, right? And as you can see, it sends the emoji. So how it works? I created the 2 functions, as I said. The first function is responsible only for assigning, and I have 2 environment variables. One is my bot name, the second one is GitHub gateway URL, and this is connected by service binding, because my GitHub is connected from the thanks to service catalog and application connector to Kyma. And also I have some assigned some triggers to my function. And here is just the source code of this bot. I'm not the JavaScript developer, so probably it's really ugly. And the next one is just the emoji blob. It has more environment variables. What is also worth to mention that we upgrade the runtime for the functions, and currently is Node.js 12. And nice other feature, before you will save something after your changes in the source code, you can just press the div and you will see every changes that you prepared before you are going to save it. And probably that's everything. Are there any questions or something? I can add another blob in the meantime.
Thanks, Michal. That was fast and a lot. Just wonder if there are any other questions. We are slightly running behind time. We have another presentation from Sayan. So maybe we can try to let Sayan present, and then at the end, if we have the time, we pick up the questions, if that's okay.
No problem.
Cool. Thank you very much, Michal.
My pleasure.
So we have last presentation. It's about tracing and Kyma eventing. Tracing in Kyma eventing, sorry. Sayan, this is something that we recently deployed, right?
No, actually it was there since the beginning. Tracing is an important part where there are many moving parts, and you want to debug where did your event pass through and what actually went wrong if your function, which Michal showed us, is not triggered per se. So tracing is really critical, and we have brought it back because it was broken few releases back. I'm gonna share my screen. Is it visible?
Yeah, it is visible.
Great. So yeah, previously we had this event bus which we upgraded to event mesh, and there are it's like a purely Knative based mesh structure where the event is going from your application, which is binded to Kyma, followed by a thing called HTTP adapter. It's based out of Knative service. And then if the application is binded to your user namespace, you will get the event through, and that is configured by this channel, which is taking it to the Knative broker. Broker has, again, different parts, ingress and filter, and based on your trigger, sorry about that, based on the trigger, you would end up seeing your function getting triggered. So a lot of moving parts here, and you see, like, if something breaks, we really need to understand which broke and why. That's where tracing is so critical for us. So I have a function here, which is listening to this event. Is the font size big enough?
Looks good, yeah.
Great. So yeah, I have an application which is Nakmar 10, and this function is basically listening to this particular event, and this function basically does nothing but some console log. That's the thing. So if an event is triggered from the application, we want to see, like, how, the touch points of the event, basically, which components it passed through. So I will go over the configuration in a bit, but let me explain the outcome first, because we have a configuration which says, like, we want to have 1% of all the tracing samples reaching Jaeger, which is the backbone of the tracing, but it could be changed, but it will obviously take more resources. Hence, I won't do like a bunch of calls to make sure I have a trace. I do have a trace here, which starts from, like, the Istio ingress gateway, followed by few components, connectivity validator to event service. This is part of the application connector, which then reaches the first channel here, which is like this part. And each channel means a persistence in your event bus configuration. For instance, Azure or NATS, what have you. Followed by the user namespace, the brokers, which I showed you back there, and then finally the Nakmar 10. And this has the various spans here. So obviously we could check even the latency, or how are we doing, which part is going crazy, which part is really fast, and stuff like that. But this is not available by default in the management. I'd like to mention that, but in the open source it is. So we really depend on the Istio configurations for tracing here. And what I have, okay, I moved to console. Is my console visible?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, right, I thought so. And I'm gonna, I don't see it for some reason, but yeah, I would like to mention that we exhaustively use the Istio configurations, where the Istio pilot has a sampling rate of 1%, and it could be changed based on the need, meaning you would get more traces, basically, meaning more resources as well. So the tracing is back with the new event mesh, and so this is a good thing. That's basically it. Thank you. Any questions? I'd love to answer.
Cool. Thank you, Sayan. Sorry for this screen sharing. We will try to figure out later why sharing an entire screen is not possible. So, but I'm new to the project, so when I've seen it in the demo last time, it seemed like a new feature. That's why I mentioned it's new. So thank you for mentioning that it was already there. Are there any questions for Sayan, or for Sayan first, and then if not, maybe they are for Michal? Cool demo. We have.
Then I have a question, maybe, or just for Michal, because you showed that there is no direct exposure of serverless function through the API gateway. Maybe it would be nice to have some link. Maybe this is to Krzysztof more, because this is UI that navigates from the function editor to API rules directly, so people should not guess that where to go.
Yeah, you are not the first person that is mentioning that, and it's really definitely that something needs to be improved. So something like expose, and then should be redirect to the API rules with already filled form. And we'll create and improve that in the future. Maybe in the stage release too. We'll see.
Yeah, create at least issue for that. Yeah, I think that would be.
Yeah, good point.
Nice improvement. Thanks.
I mean, I do have one. I really like the idea of having a diff there and kind of a little bit of an editor experience. Do you guys think of having like a full-blown like a Visual Studio Code style embedded editor there, right, where you can pick out the more files and something like that, or?
I think rather than adding new features to the editor in the UI, we rather focus on supporting Git repositories and GitOps, because most developers would like to have source code in the Git rather than editing in some editor online, right?
Yeah, they will be always lacking some favorite features from their IDEs, right? So we cannot compare with that same experience.
Yeah, and GitOps, I think, is the direction we will go, and we will not probably invest too much time in the local editor.
This is more for quick testing and things like this, right?
Yeah, this is just for
hackathons.
Yeah. For hackathons, for demos. That's the main use case. Yeah, probably nobody uses that editor for more serious things. Yeah, so.
Come on, PB, it is also important for blobs, right? As I told you.
Yeah.
Cool. So, well, I think if there are any other questions, I take it as a feedback that we change a little bit the format and we allow everyone to share and share their screen. So I'll take it by myself to try it out the setup next time. And thank you all for joining, and we see each other in 2 weeks, I guess, right? And anyone, please join and propose some topics. As said, they can be Kyma related. That's nice. Can also be things that are interested to Kyma, so in the same area, and we would like to present them and could influence Kyma's future. That's also so. It's each other in 2 weeks then.
And it's worth to set that as well. You can ask any questions, or we can talk about any topic, right? It's not related to the agenda as well. Then.
Yeah, exactly.
Then if you want to even ask right now about something, then feel free. And if not, then in the next 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, and you can always ask question on Slack and create GitHub issues.
GitHub issues, yes.
Particularly pull requests, right?
Ideally.
Pull requests are the best, yeah. Cool.
Okay, thanks a lot.
So thank
you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.